Hello students, welcome to today's English learning class. We were just learning the chapter King Tut. The saga continues. We had read up to the point I have marked read. We were at a point when Howard Carter, who had discovered King Tut's mummy in 1922, when he was taking the funerary treasures out and when he removed the three nested layers of the coffin one by one, he found that the ritual resins that had been used at the time of the funeral, they had got hardened, and King Tut's dead body had got cemented to the solid gold coffin. They tried every amount of legitimate force to take it out, but they failed to do so. So they had to take the body out and remove the jewelry. So let's see what he did. The sun can beat down like a hammer this far south in Egypt, and Carter tried to use it to loosen the resins. That sticky substance that had been glued and that had solidified the King Tut's body to the solid gold coffin was to be loosened. So no other legitimate force could work out. So he tried experimenting with the heat of the sun for several hours. For several hours, he set the mummy outside in the blazing sunshine. He exposed the dead body, the entire coffin, to the blazing sunshine to just get it exposed to the heat of the sun, so that the resins could be loosened. It was exposed to a temperature of 149 degrees Fahrenheit, but nothing buzzed, nothing moved an inch, nothing loosened, nothing melted. He reported with scientific detachment. This was something scientific he had tried, but since this scientific formula, this scientific experiment exposing to the sun didn't work, he got scientifically detached. And he said the consolidated material had to be chiseled away from beneath the limbs and trunk before it was possible to raise the king's remains. Limbs means legs, and hands. Trunk means upper part of the body that had got solidified to the to the gold coffin. So they had to do something inhumane. They had to do something illegitimate. They used iron tools, chisel and hammer, and that had to be chiseled away. With the help of those tools, they had to remove it forcefully from the solid gold coffin, so that King Tut's remains, his dead body, could be lifted off, could be raised in his defense. So he had to defend himself. This was something against the norms established for the archaeologists. They were supposed to be quite humane and quite careful while handling the mummies discovered, but he had to do this inhumane thing. So he had to defend himself. Carter really had little choice in his defense. He said if he had not cut the mummy free this illegitimate way, thieves most certainly would have circumvented the guards and ripped it apart to remove the gold. Thieves would have deceived the guards. Thieves would have cheated the guards. They would have dosed the guards. They would have thrown dust into the eyes of the guards and cut the mummy apart to remove the gold. So, for this fear, he had to use this illegitimate thing, this inhuman seeming thing, to take the gold out of the dead body. In King Tut's time, the royals were fabulously wealthy, the kings were extremely wealthy and affluent. They thought or hoped they could take their riches with them. There was a belief in the royalty that they could take their luxury, they could take their prosperity, they could take their wealth with them to the other world. For this journey to the great beyond, King Tut was lavished with. Lavished means buried with, buried lavishly, buried spending a lot. Lavish is a person who spends a lot. So that has been used as a verb where so much has been spent. King Tut was lavished with glittering goods, sparkling goods, precious collars. Collars, they are kind of necklaces, inlaid necklaces, necklaces laid with precious stones and gems, bracelets, rings, amulets. Amulets are also worn round the wrist. Fine, a ceremonial apron, sandals, fragrant wood, expensive fragrant wood, shets for his fingers. Shets, they are kind of rings and toes. And now iconic inner coffin and mask. Iconic inner coffin means the shape of the coffin's lid was also mummy shaped, that is iconic inner coffin. It had third layers, and third layer was itself mummy shaped and made of gold, all of pure gold. So this much wealth he had been buried with. To separate Tut from his adornments, these were his adornments that were adorning him, he was wearing. Carter's men removed the mummy's head, they had to cut the mummy head separate, severed, cut all major joints like thighs and these wrists. Fine, the shoulders, the point wherever joints are there, major joints. Once they had finished, they reassembled the remains. So they had to reassemble the dead body after taking the jewelry out on a layer of sand in a wooden box. They did it. The box made of gold was taken out and preserved in the archaeological department to be perhaps exhibited to the rest of the people with padding. And in order to cover the gaps while reassembling, they used some padding, some cotton kind of thing or something else to conceal the damage, to hide the damage so that the joints do not appear. The bed where Tut now rests, and this was King Tut's present bed when his dead body was being taken out for the purpose of CT scan. Now, the purpose of archaeologist was not to take out the adornments or the treasure. This time, the purpose was purely to investigate the lingering mysteries associated with King Tut and King Tut's life and death. But 80 years back, when King Tut's dead body was discovered, the archaeologist Howard Carter's priority was to remove the jewelry, remove the adornments. So we can find out a shift in the approach of the archaeologist in 1982 when Howard Carter's tomb was discovered, and in 2005 when Howard Carter's mummy was being CT scanned. That time archaeologists had more concentration, their priority was on the treasures with which the kings had been buried many thousand years back. But now in 2005, archaeologists priority was to investigate the dead body from certain mysterious angles. Actually, the difference was because in 1982 there was no technology to investigate the dead body the way it was being done in 2005. The CT scan technology perhaps had not been discovered at that time. So we can find a shift in the priorities of the archaeologist of these two eras, rather I would say. Archaeology has changed substantially in the intervening decades. Yeah, that point is being discussed here. Intervening decades means from 1922 to 2005, archaeology has changed substantially very much, focusing less on treasure. Now their focus is not on treasure. Their focus is more on the fascinating details of life, intriguing details of life, attractive details of life, and intriguing, fascinating mysteries of death. Fine, intriguing means confusing, puzzling. It also uses more sophisticated tools. What other change has archaeology experienced over these number of years? Now it uses sophisticated tools, ultra advanced tools, which include medical technology. One more incident is being mentioned here in 1968. It means between 1922 and 2005, there was one more year in 1968, more than 40 years after Carter's discovery. An anatomy is the study of human body, x-rayed the mummy. Perhaps at that time x-ray technique was available, so his mummy was x-rayed also in between, in the intervening decades. And revealed a startling fact. And X-ray done in 1968 revealed a quite shocking fact. Beneath the resin sticky substance that was covering the body, that cakes his chest, that was covering his chest, his breastbone and front ribs were found missing at that time. Whatsoever was the reason for that, it has not been revealed. But his body was taken out somewhere between 1922 and 2005 as well for the purpose of x-ray. That time this was the outcome of that. Now since CT scan had been the technology of CT scan had been developed by the people, now it was being CT scanned to find out certain more things that left unanswered after so many years. Today diagnostic imaging can be done, and today at present some more ultra advanced sophisticated tools are being used. Today diagnostic imaging can be done. Diagnostic imaging means taking the images of the dead body for the purpose of diagnosis. Diagnosis means for finding out the certain reasons. With computed tomography, it's the complete form of CT. CT is the short form. It's computed tomography, by which hundreds of X-rays in cross section are put together. In this technology, hundred of X-rays of the body from all angles, they are put together like slices of bread. Every X-ray sheet is a film is a kind of a flat slice of bread. So these hundreds of X-rays are taken together. They are put like slices of bread in a particular section to create a three-dimensional virtual body. And for just putting together of the X-rays, it brings out it brings out on screen a three-dimensional virtual body, almost real. Virtual means almost real. Fine. So on computer screen there comes the virtual body of the person, and it's like seeing a body from inside. What more would a CT scan reveal of truth than the X-ray? X-ray had been already done in 1968. Now CT scan was being done. CT scans process involved taking so many X-rays and putting them into a cross section, so that on the computer screen a virtual body can be formed and seen and investigating and probed. So now it was the question that would CT scan present something more than what X-ray failed to, and could it answer two of the biggest questions still lingering about him? Lingering means lying unsolved. So two questions which were to be answered were: how did he die and how old was he at the time of his death? Would CT scan be able to answer these two important questions? This was to be seen. King Tut's demise was a big event. Demise means death. King Tut's death was a big event. Even by royal standards, it was a big event. He was the last of his family line. As I told you in the very first paragraph of the chapter, he was the last heir of his family. He was the last successor of his family. So he was last of his family line, and his funeral was the death rattle of a dynasty. His funeral means his dying, his death. His death was the death rattle of a dynasty. Means with the announcement of, with the declaration of his death, the entire dynasty, the entire family of his went dead. Death rattle. Rattle is a sound. It's a sound that is that announces the death of somebody. In royal families, perhaps they used to play some instruments announcing that. Fine. But the particulars of his passing away and its aftermath are unclear. But how did he pass away? How did he die? And what happened after that? Aftermath means things happening after a particular event. They are unclear. So it was to be found out that what happened when this entire dynasty ended with the death of King Tut, and how did he die, so that historians are extremely interested in recording these facts, so that the coming generations could be told about, could be informed about, could be enlightened about the past. So King Tut became special in this particular regard of history, that he being the last heir was to be investigated minutely. In the next few paragraphs, we are being told about King Tut's ancestors. We are being taken into the time when King Tut ruled the Egypt, and his forefathers were ruling the Egypt. The entire family line is being described here. Amenhotep III, Tut's father or grandfather, they were not sure, historians were not sure, was a powerful pharaoh. Pharaoh, as I have told you, used to be called to the king, used to be a word used for the king. was a powerful pharaoh who ruled for almost 4 decades at the height of 18th dynasty's golden age, when it was the golden age of King Tut's dynasty. Dynasty means a chain of families, vansh in Hindi we say. His son Amenhotep IV succeeded him. So after Amenhotep III, Amenhotep IV became the king. If succeed means to become a head of the family after the head of the family is no more. The word has been derived from the word successor, and initiated this particular person, this particular king Amenhotep IV, started one of the strangest periods in the history of ancient Egypt. How was the period strangest? The new pharaoh, this Amenhotep IV, promoted the worship of Aten. He promoted the worship of this god Aten, whose symbol was sun disk, and changed his name to Akhenaten. Fine, since he worshipped god Aten, so on the name of the god Aten, he changed his name from Amenhotep to Akhenaten to pay respect towards the god he believed in. The meaning of Akhenaten was servant of the Aten, and moved the religious capital from the old city of Thebes to a new city of Akhenaten. So he also shifted the religious capital from old city of Thebes to the new city of Akhenaten. Nowadays, at present, we call that city Amarna. He further, these were the many shocks he had given to the country. He brought about a great deal of transformation in the way religion was considered in his country. He brought some shocking transformation. He further shocked the country by attacking Ammon, a major god. There were people believing in another god, Ammon, but he shocked the country. He attacked the reputation of this god. He smashed his images. He closed all his temples. It must have been a horrific time, said Ray Johnson, director of the University of Chicago's Research Center in Luxor, the site of ancient Thebes. So, there is a University of Chicago in Luxor that is situated at the site of ancient Thebes. The director of this university, looking at the destruction, looking at the changes made by this particular king of Egypt, remarked that the time he ruled, it must have been a horrific time, because he seemed to be a dictator. He seemed to be a cruel ruler who did whatever he liked. He was an iconoclast. There is a person who breaks the images of the gods and goddesses is known as iconoclast in English. The family that had ruled for centuries was coming to an end, and then Akhenaten went a little wacky. So he terms that this was, almost coming to end of the family, because he had started causing destruction. He had started, smashing the images of the god people believed in. He had started imposing his own religious faiths upon the people. So this was almost the end of the family that had ruled Egypt for centuries. And then Akhenaten went a little wacky. He says further, this king who seemed to be a dictator, who seemed to be a despot, who seemed to be quite cruel and brutal, he turned a little wacky. Wacky is a word that means a person with odd behavior. In English, there is another word that you can use for wacky, that is eccentric. Eccentric means a person who does anything to satisfy his whims. Whatever comes to his mind, he goes to any extent to do that. There is another word for that, whimsical. So he turned whimsical. Fine. So this Amenhotep III, who later changed to Akhenaten, uh, his period of ruling was one of the most cruel periods in the history of the Egypt after Akhenaten's death. So when this cruel ruler died, a mysterious ruler named Smenkhare appeared briefly. So after the death of this ruler, there came another ruler who remained a mystery, about whom nothing more information is available, and he came and exited with hardly a trace. He didn't do anything significant to get recorded into the books of history. So no more information is available about him, since he didn't leave any trace. And then a very young Tutankhaten took the throne, and then this particular king Tut became the king. He took the throne, that royal chair. King Tut, as he is widely known today, the boy king soon changed his name to Tutankhamun, living image of Amun. It means whatever his one of ancestors did, he restored that. His ancestor changed his name from Amenhotep to Akhenaten. He also changed his, the King Tut also did the same and restored the glory of the previous god Amun. Living image of Amun is the meaning of his name Tutankhamun. And oversaw means ensured a restoration of the old ways. He reigned for about 9 years. He ruled for about 9 years and then died unexpectedly. So this was the history of King Tut and his ancestors, regardless of his fame and the speculation about his fate. There were many speculations made about his fate. How did he die? Many guesses had been made, and he had been quite famed as well. Regardless of his fame, irrespective of his fame and speculation, Tut is one mummy. His mummy is one mummy among many in Egypt. How many, no one knows. Egypt is famous for mummy, but how many mummies have been recorded, how many mummies have been discovered so far, no one knows. The Egyptian Mummy Project, it's a project which began an inventory. Inventory means to make a list of the things discovered. In 2003, it has recorded almost 600 mummies so far and is still counting. So this particular organization took the task on its shoulder that they would be recording all the mummies discovered. The next phase, first phase was to record the mummies discovered. Next phase was to scan the mummies, so that the mysteries related to them could be revealed and recorded in the books of history for the coming generations to know. The next phase was scanning the mummies with the portable means easy to carry CT scan machine. This machine was donated to this organization by National Geographic Society and Siemens, which were the manufacturers of the machine. King Tut is one of the first mummies to be scanned under this project. King Tut's mummy was being scanned in 2005. That is the setting of this chapter. So this way, in death as in life, moving regally ahead of his countrymen. So this way, King Tut, when he was alive, he did something significant, that he surpassed the achievements of his ancestors, and he was regally, he was royally, he was elegantly ahead of his countrymen. And now even after death, he got the privilege, as his mummy was one of the first mummies to be CT scanned. So he remained special while he was alive, even after death. A CT scan machine scanned the mummy head to toe, creating 700 digital X-ray images in cross section. 700 digital X-ray images had been taken as the part of the CT scan. Tut's head scanned in 0.62 millimeter slices. Slices means those films, those sheets on which CT X-rays are taken, to register, to record its intricate structure. The structure of head is the most intricate one. Intricate ones is most complicated one. So it was scanned separately, takes on airy detail in resulting image. When the images were seen on computer of the X-rays done of the head, they produced airy details. Airy means somewhat surprising and frightening also. Fine. When Tut's entire body similarly recorded, so this way all parts of his body had been x-rayed and recorded. A team of specialists in radiology, forensics and anatomy. So these are the branches of science. Forensics has been explained to you. Radiology means the people involved in, the doctors involved in doing x-rays and blood tests, etc. Anatomy, the study of human body. All these teams of specialists, the entire team of specialists began probing the secrets, investigating the secrets that the winged goddesses of a gilded burial shrine protected for so long. Gilded burial shrine refers to King Tut's tomb. Burial shrine, burial place. Shrine means a very holy place. So the tombs of kings are termed as holy and sacred. gilded means because the coffin was made of gilt, and it was believed that King Tut's tomb was being protected by an Egyptian goddess with wings for last many thousand years, and now that dead body had been taken out and CT scanned, and whatever things had been recorded, they whatever things had been there were so many uh, people indulged into the investigation. Radiologists were there, forensic scientists were there, anatomy professors were there, so they started probing the secrets. Now CT scan had been completed, and now this team was investigating on the results of the CT scans. The night of the scan, we are being also told about something mysterious that happened on the night of the scan. The night of the scan, workmen carried Tut from the tomb in his box. So King Tut was carried in the wooden box. Now it was a wooden box, like pall bearers. They climbed a ramp and a flight of stairs, since it was some feet deep. So the workmen had to take out King Tut's coffin out of the tomb. They carried, there was a ramp, and then there was a flight of stairs, and they carried the dead body like pall bearers. Pall bearers are people who take the dead body to the cremations carrying on their shoulders. So they took the box out into the swirling sand outside. Swirling sand, the sand, you know, moving fast due to the wind blowing. Fine, it was in the desert. Valley of Kings was the place. Then rose on a hydraulic lift. The CT scan machine was kept in the Valley of Kings into a big trailer, into a big vehicle. So they had to uh, rise into that using a hydraulic lift. Hydraulic lift is a lift that carries things, and this lift is operated by water, operated with water. Fine. uh, th- uh, so they just took the dead body into the uh, that trailer where the which hosted the CT scan machine. 20 minutes later, two men emerged. So in the trailer, the dead body was taken. 20 minutes later, two men came out of the trailer, sprinted for an office nearby. There was a temporary office built nearby in the Valley of Kings. He ran for, sprinted for means ran for the office nearby, returned with a pair of white plastic fans. So he took some white plastic fans out of the office and brought and just took them to the trailer. The $1 million scanner, the expensive scanner, had quit, had stopped functioning because of sand in a cooler fan. So they were taking those white plastic fans as alternatives. Curse of the Pharaoh, joked the guard nervously. Seeing this hurdle coming into the way of CT scan, one of the guards made a joke. He called, "Was it due to curse of the Pharaoh? Was this interruption in the process caused due to the curse of the Pharaoh?" As I told you, that there was a curse associated with King Tut's mummy. It was believed that King Tut was enjoying his eternal sleep in his tomb, and whosoever would disturb him in his eternal sleep would meet death or get some misfortune in his life. So when this obstruction caused, the guard joked whether it was because of the curse of the Pharaoh. Fine. Moving on. Let me see how much is left. We can complete it. Eventually, the substitute fans worked well enough to finish the procedure. So the fans, white fans, substitute fans were used. They worked well. The entire process of CT scan was finished. After checking that no data had been lost, first they ensured that no data had been lost. The entire data had been preserved into the computers. The technicians, the people who were involved in doing the CT scan, turned it over to the workmen to be buried again, who carried him back to his tomb. Less than 3 hours after he was removed from his coffin, it took 3 hours to CT scan. The pharaoh again rested in peace, where the funerary priest means the priest at the time of the burial 3300 years ago, had laid him so long ago. So King Tut again was laid to rest in his tomb. Back in the trailer, trailer in which that CT scan was there. A technician pulled up astonishing images. When the images were pulled up on the computer screen, first the films were taken, then they are to be pulled up, shown on the screen. Astonishing images, surprising images of Tut were pulled up on the computer screen. A grey head took shape from a scattering of pixels. When the pixels, a picture is made of pixels actually. So when the pixels were scattered on the computer screen, they could see a grey head on the screen. A technician spun and tilted it in every direction, so that that head was turned and twisted into every direction to have a look at it from every angle. Neck vertebrae appeared, neck vertebrae, that backbone appeared as clearly as in an anatomy class. So they were quite clear images, as an anatomy professor displays neck vertebrae to its students in an anatomy class. Similarly, as that clearly neck vertebrae of King Tut appeared on the screen, it means CT scan outcomes were quite clear and quite marvelous. Other images revealed a hand, several view of the rib cage, and a transection of the skull. Transection means the entire hollow of the skull, that head. But for now the pressure was off. So this way every part of King Tut was recorded in computer clearly, in a crystal clear manner. Now scientists would sit and look at the images and develop some theories and record into the books of history. But for now the pressure was off. Now the pressure was off, pressure of CT scan was off. The person who was the in charge of this entire process, Jai Hawass, he smiled sitting back in his chair. He was visibly relieved. He could be seen relieved that nothing had gone seriously wrong. They had certain fears that whether the process would go smooth or not, or whether the curse associated was right or not, but everything went smooth. He says that I didn't sleep last night, not for a second. He was so excited, he was so anxious rather, that he couldn't sleep last night. I was so worried, but now I think I'll go and sleep. So he made this remark. By the time we left the trailer, so everybody left the trailer and descending metal stairs. So some metal stairs led into the trailer. They descended those, they stepped down those metal stairs and came to the sandy ground, Valley of Kings. The wind had stopped. Now the weather had turned better. The winter air lay cold and still. It was not blowing. It looked like death itself. It looked like quite peace, and it was as quiet as death in this valley of the departed. Valley of departed means it is the term being used for the graveyard. Departed means who are no more. Just above the entrance of Tut's tomb stood Aryan. Just above the entrance of King Tut, in the sky, there was a constellation, there was a group of stars, which in Egyptian culture they called that particular constellation of stars as Orion. The ancient Egyptians knew it as the soul of Osiris. They termed this, there was a belief that entire constellation named Orion was the soul of Osiris. Osiris in their culture is the god of afterlife. Like we have here Yamraj, the god of afterlife. They called it Osiris, watching over the boy king. They believed that this entire constellation was watching over the boy king, means was protecting and guarding the boy king. And this is the entire story of King Tut's dead body, mummy being discovered, and the CT scan taken place. We came to know about the history of his ancestors. We also came to know the advancement in the science of archaeology and their priorities many years before and their priorities now. We also came to know Howard Carter's discovering the tomb, and his forcing his using illegitimate force to take the dead body off because it had got consolidated. So many things we have come to know. We have deeply dug the story of King Tut through this chapter. Hope you understood everything in between the lines. Now the task with you is to revise the chapter again and highlight the part that has been less comprehensible to you, that you are doubt at. You can leave your queries at my WhatsApp number. I would love to satisfy all those. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.